What crap football? I mean, there's just a total dilution of product. I get it. I get it. Money machine. Let's get the extra game. Hey, well, playoff game stakes. Everyone's going to be watching. We'll throw the Mannings on there and have the most awkward conversation ever with The Rock. Neither seven seed had any business being there. It diluted the weekend. We had two games, and Raiders Bengals got off to a great start. Cowboys 49ers was exciting towards the end, but it was because you had two inept coaches doing the Spider-Man meme to each other, trying to lose that game. It's interesting. I ended up turning I put it on mute. The Bills game, the Steelers game, the Eagles game, the Rams game. I felt bad for Ian Eagle, esteemed football broadcaster, basketball broadcaster, who, he's CBS's number 2 guy. So he goes to Buffalo while Jim Nantz and Romo get to do the other game. Equally cold Kansas City. Well, not as cold, right? Because Ian Eagle got to do the outdoor press box game of the Bills. Imagine, sweet. It's a stakes game. Everyone's watching. They're obviously watching the product, not you, the broadcaster. But as a broadcaster, I find this interesting. And I also hate the cold. So this guy's just doing the crappiest of crap game. This one I actually turned off. It wasn't even worth watching anymore. And you were just freezing your ass off doing a game that nobody's watching, still plugging in CBS, NCIS Montana coming out on Tuesday, a new episode. Really felt bad for him. Did you guys check out the Nickelodeon stream? His son, Noah Eagle, he was broadcasting that one. I know some people enjoyed that. I mean, yeah, the clips are fun, but who knows? I'm a Manning cast guy. People don't like that. I'm not a Nickelodeon guy, but maybe people enjoyed that broadcast as opposed to just the usual. Favorites were 5-1 this weekend. Public 5-1. Public likes favorites more times than not. Sharps were 3-2, so a winning weekend. There was no sharp action noted from where I check it on the Action Network in the Buffalo game, but they were on the Bucks. Public and Sharps were aligned on that one. They were losses on Las Vegas and Pittsburgh. Those were two the biggest dogs of the weekend. Neither covered, and they did get the win on the Niners, which was obviously the lone underdog to win. Bengals outlast the Raiders. Offense looks great. Joe Burrow, he's like, everything's going to be made of Tua and Herbert because, Tua was selected before Herbert. Burrow kind of gets skates in the conversation. He was injured. He was the number 1 overall pick, right? The guy that came out of nowhere, wasn't highly recruited, but then had the greatest season ever before, Bailey zapped this past year. But, one of the greatest college teams we've ever seen in that LSU Tigers team. And then Joe Burrow obviously goes down and gives Cincinnati their best win in their first postseason win in 31 years. Truly incredible. And he looked like a mix of Herbert and Tua. He has that polish, right? He's got the arm. He's a gamer. Feels present, great pocket presence, isn't afraid to leave it when he has to, of Justin Herbert, right? Who we all agree, he just wows us when we see the intangibles at quarterback. Tua's a little bit, he's a lefty. He's, dink and dunk here, but he's a winner. He's done it in national titles as a sophomore, thrown into the game. He's got a really good record with the Miami Dolphins, even if he's just a bit of a game manager. It's both of them combined. Joe Burrow, you get the winner that is Burrow in the national title, turning around a loser franchise, first win in 31 years. Look, the Raiders could have had that. That was my big loser pick of the weekend. I thought it was all favorites. I thought the 49ers certainly had a chance. I had them in the only teaser that hit, just 49ers and the Buccaneers, all the underdogs. That was the only underdog that even covered the teaser number, which was crazy too. And the Action Network actually came out with a tweet, and they jinxed it because they put out, it was like the 14 straight divisional teaser covers. It was something ridiculous. And of course, there was only one that actually hit for the underdog. But yes, I mean, the arm talent of Herbert combined with the winning nature of Tua, you get Joey B. He's so cool. He's smoking the cigar. It's hard not to root for this guy. But and certainly now, I overlooked the Bengals. I thought first it was the Colts that could take them out. Then the Raiders take their spot as the Colts missed the playoffs. And I thought the Raiders were going to do it. And lo and behold, Bengals end up winning and covering because you come down to the final minute. The Raiders, you throw in the end zone, dude. Come on. That last pass couldn't even get there. That was the lone exciting game of the weekend. So we're just going to recap Wild Card Weekend and then take a look ahead. It'll be the Titans and the Bengals. I mean, that might be the toss-up game of the weekend coming up in Divisional Weekend. McCarthy, Shanahan, I mentioned, just two fools outdoing each other. Shanahan, you've got the collapse. First of all, Dan Quinn against Kyle Shanahan, right? Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl collapse. That's the big thing against Shanahan, against Dan Quinn. I think it was more Shanahan's fault. Why? Because he did similar things in the Super Bowl collapse against the Chiefs. He's got 2 black marks against him, and then he nearly gives it up to the Cowboys. They are in complete control because McCarthy's a fool. Never trust him. He couldn't get it. That's why he got ran out of Green Bay. And, now it's one and done with the Cowboys again. America's team. Dak was not good. And they almost come back with it. What was the quarterback? The run. I mean, my goodness. Okay, I understand getting some yardage there. That was an interesting play, certainly. I don't hate that. But it looked like he just charged an extra 5 yards at that point. He was just wasting time off the clock. The refs were all over it. Just a bizarre end to a game that was exciting, but it was just 2 coaches that were making mistakes. Why are you throwing? Jimmy G, one of the worst interceptions you can make. That wasn't even a game until Jimmy G threw that interception. And again, a spot where you usually should not be throwing. I don't really trust Shanahan as another example this past weekend. Jimmy G, terrible interception. Look at this is what Jimmy G is. 16 for 25. 172 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. Just 0. He had no effect on the game except negatively there in the second half. That does not beat Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. The Eagles stink. He's just simply an average quarterback in terms of throwing. Now, the mobility makes him interesting, but does that make him your quarterback of the future? I'm not so sure. Nick Sirianni loves throwing screen passes, and to, I guess, his credit, maybe that's because he sees Hurts every day in practice and realizes, hey, that's really all that he can do. We can't trust him in a playoff game to do much other than that against the reigning Super Bowl defense of the Buccaneers. So that game was ridiculous. Felt bad for Troy Aikman, who had to do that game instead of the Cowboys game for some reason. Interesting how that worked out, but the Sunday kind of matinee game, right, early afternoon, was an absolute stinker. Maybe Nick Sirianni needs a new guy. Like, I truly wonder if Jalen Hurts is the future there. I've heard Matt Ryan to the Steelers. I've heard Matt Ryan to the Eagles. I've heard Matt Ryan remaining with the Falcons. But is there a change coming possibly in Philadelphia? Everyone was having a lot of fun making fun of Jalen Reagor, who, of course, was picked by the Eagles before Justin Jefferson. And just but that was the Doug Peterson era, right? Just really pick that's going to haunt, obviously, the Eagles for as long as Justin Jefferson continues his fantastic career. And Brady was Brady. It's just clinical, surgical, no Godwin, no AB, no problem. And it's just Brady being Brady. And lastly, the Cardinals were frauds. Good team. I've been telling you all year long, good team, just too young, and they ran into a great team on the road in the Rams. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, OBJ, Matt Stafford, just a veteran team, guys that have not necessarily done it. We know Von Miller, obviously, Super Bowl MVP, but just veterans, right? OBJ, this is the first playoff game since the boat incident in New York, and he was solid, right? Caught the opening touchdown. That's all the Rams have needed him to do, is just kind of be that guy. They could go one-on-one with a fade, and he's going to come down with it more times than not. He could still go over the middle, get open that way. And look, the Rams it was round 3. Those two teams have battled. They're good teams. Rams just a little bit better. That's why they won the season series, extending into the postseason 2-1. And that's why the Rams are moving on. A lot of people sounding the alarm on Kyler, who did not play well, and Cliff Kingsbury, who notoriously falls off after hot starts at the collegiate and now professional level. They're still going to be good for years to come. I think that was just a classic case of just being overmatched by a team. I still have confidence that the future is bright for that pair there in Arizona. Pittsburgh, end of an era. Big Ben, 44 pass attempts for 215 yards. Yuck. 4.9 average yards per attempt. Najee Harris gets absolutely shut down. He is, this again with no air game against Big Ben, just his corpse back there, and you can't get the ground game going. Najee Harris is talented, but when you got Big Ben there, you're only going to get 12 carries for 29 yards, 2.4 yards per carry, and then you had to throw in it because the Chiefs, after that defensive touchdown where everyone kind of collectively gasped, like, hey, is this on? No, it was not. The Chiefs flipped the switch, as they usually like to do in the postseason. And this is what I find interesting. What Mahomes did to the Pittsburgh, Stephen A got to celebrate the Cowboys loss right all day on First Take yesterday. He didn't really mention about, when he declared the Chiefs done after week 5, right? Mahomes against the 6th best defense in the NFL, the Pittsburgh defense, 30 of 39, 404 yards. That's what a quarterback looks like, Big Ben. He had 5 less attempts and threw for almost 200 more yards than Big Ben. 5 touchdowns, 10 yards, over 10 yards per attempt. He did have just 1 pick. And how about Jerick McKinnon out of nowhere? Just plug and play. That's the running back position. Get anyone back there. And if you have a good throwing attack like you do with the Chiefs, McKinnon's going to get you the same amount of carries as Najee Harris. Oh, but triple the yardage. Well, double the yardage, actually. 61 yards, 5.1 yards per carry. Travis Kelce threw a touchdown. Now, can they do it against the best defense in the Bills? Best defense left. They're the 2nd best defense in the NFL behind the Saints, statistically, according to ESPN's Football Power Index. But look what Allen did to the Pats defense, which is better than the Steelers' top 5 defense. 21 of 25, 308 yards. He had a better game than Mahomes. 12 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns. Just the perfect game plan against a really good defense. Again, that's another case of third time. Better team's going to get the 2-1 nod in the season series there. And how about Devin Singletary, son of Mike Singletary, really coming on the second half of the season and just having a great young career. I think the Bills are the more talented team, as I give you a little teaser to our look ahead when you match up the Bills and the Chiefs. I mean, obviously it's Mahomes over Allen, but on both sides of the football, I think the Bills have the more talented roster, but it's very hard to beat a team twice, obviously, and it's very hard to beat a team twice at their place in Arrowhead this weekend. So this was right around the time that Stephen A declared, the Chiefs done, when the Bills strolled into Arrowhead, and Mahomes had a really bad game by his standards, right? The QBR was below that average level of 50. He threw for only 5 yards per attempt, had a couple of interceptions. He was awful by Mahomes standards. Let's put it that way. I don't think he'll do that again in the playoffs. This is simply me just thinking that Kansas City at home, very hard to beat a team twice in that scenario. And despite the fact that I think there's more talent if Mahomes isn't throwing interceptions, that's the key to this game. And I think the winner of this game represents the AFC in the Super Bowl, whether that be the Chiefs or the Bills. I think my kind of early season pick was Bills Bucks. But I think we'll tease my picks for later. I think the slight edge might go to the Chiefs in this one, in round 2 at Arrowhead, this time in the playoffs in the divisional round. Tampa Bay meets LA for the second time. Back in week 3, it was in LA, back when Matt Stafford was playing like an MVP. I get it. He had a great game against the Cardinals. That's fine. The Cardinals, again, I don't think were very good. They were good. There was just that tier. We've always said Rams, Bucks, Packers in that, Bills in that upper tier, Cardinals kind of hovering in the top 10, but significantly not as talented. Again, a year away, I believe, coaching, quarterback, roster overall, and they lost Budda Baker, who's a very talented player. Hopefully he is all right. But yeah, so Brady was also playing like an MVP that game. He threw for over 400 yards in the losing effort, but he had the complete MVP season. I would argue, I think Brady deserves it over Rodgers. Rodgers missed a game. That's not political. He missed a game, right? Where his team ended up losing. That's not he's valuable to his team. Brady is not missing games, but he is missing players, and he's still going out, putting up virtually the same record as you, and he beat you last year at Lambeau. He's kind of thinking he's going to do the same thing this year. So again, the Rams are going cross country now, coming off this big win. First win for Stafford in his long career, first playoff win. Letdown factor here as you go travel to Tampa Bay, where Tom doesn't even celebrate Super Bowls anymore. It's just another check mark on his legacy. You see him after the Super Bowl win last year at their place, business as usual. He goes to his locker, gets ready to go home. I like Tampa Bay at home against the Rams. This is the trendy pick, though. A lot of people like the Rams to pull the upset this weekend. Very hard to beat a team twice, and now it's in Tampa. I think the Brady factor is going to have the Bucs victorious here and back to their second consecutive NFC Championship game. Tennessee against Cincinnati. Derrick Henry to return? ? That's the big kind of thing everyone's keeping an eye on. Obviously, that's a huge factor if he comes back. Otherwise, Tannehill can get stripped down a little bare there without a reliable force that is Derrick Henry behind him. Julio Jones. All right, Falcons fans, we're kind of watching him in the playoffs. Is he going to get a Super Bowl? Who knows? Facing the Bengals. Will the bye help Tennessee? Right? Last year was the first year that there was only one bye team as we added one team on the bye as we added the seventh team to the NFL playoffs in each conference. Kansas City and Green Bay were the 2-1 seeds last year. They both won in the divisional round. In 2019-20, the last year we had the 1 and 2 seeds from each conference get the bye. San Fran and Green Bay were both the 1 seeds that year, 2 years ago. They both moved on as 1 seeds in this divisional round. 2 seeds got a bye as well as aforementioned. Tennessee upset Baltimore that year. Remember that. So Tennessee's been here a couple of years now under Vrabel, Tannehill. Hopefully they get Henry back. AJ Brown. Now they add Julio. But again, we know Lamar Jackson's record in the playoffs isn't stellar. And 2 seed Kansas City went on to win the Super Bowl over the 49ers again 2 years ago. And remember last year, yes, Tampa Bay, the 5 seed got it done as they mowed through road games all the way to the title game, which was on their home field against all odds. Rams have the opportunity to do that this year, right? Rams hoping to get to SoFi Stadium, which hosts this year's Super Bowl. Okay, here are my picks. I had the Raiders last week. That was wrong. I also had the Cowboys. That was wrong, but I cashed the teaser with the 49ers. So, that game was a toss-up for me. So, what am I going to do? NFL was chalk this past weekend. Public. I hate the public. But in terms of just picking straight up, I'm going with you guys this week. Tennessee with the bye, I think it gets it done. Is Henry coming back? That's huge. Again, I kind of like the Cardinals. I think the Bengals are just a year away. They get the playoff win. That was awesome. Who are the Raiders? The Raiders that was another team that was just a little tier down. The Raiders were a nice story, but Derek Carr, no one was really that defense. No one was really that scared of them. Burrow and Chase inject some fear. Like there's got to be some fear in Tennessee fans' homes, and that the locker room's going to shut that stuff out. But seeing Burrow come into Nashville, that dude loves the limelight. This dude excels under pressure, and an offense that's scary. That they have that factor, but I think Tennessee is going to be able to get it done. The bye is a huge factor here. And again, I think it's another letdown spot. First win in 31 years, postseason for a city, for a franchise. Tennessee's been here, done that for a couple of years now. I think they get it done. Green Bay, move on, bye factor here. 49ers, I still don't trust Jimmy G, still don't trust Shanahan. Don't necessarily trust Matt LaFleur, right? We saw he's gotten some questionable things on his resume as well, taking Rodgers off the field, kicking a field goal last year against Tampa Bay. I think they get it done against the 49ers. Tampa, I think they roll. I just think it's going to Tampa is just a dominant team. I trust Brady over Stafford. If Stafford throws a pick six, it could get ugly. And then let's go Kansas City. Again, I think I'm rooting for my preseason pick. I would like some fresh blood in the Super Bowl. Kansas City, though, I just think they're dominant. Mahomes is the greatest thing we've ever seen. There's a reason Mahomes and Brady were on the cover of Madden after they duked it out in the Super Bowl. It could be them for years to come. It's the passing of the torch. It's the guy we've never seen do things like this before in Tom Brady. to guy that's on the scene now as a youngster. It's the passing torches of legendary quarterbacks for our generation. Tom Brady, we think towards the end of his career, still getting it done. And Mahomes, even against kind of an adversity late in season, right? Where he was actually getting written off for the first time in his career early in the season. And they're still fighting all the way here. Chalk to chalk for me. Where does the public sit currently right now? Remember, public 5-1 in the wild card round. They are currently on Tennessee, Green Bay. Public likes the Rams to take out Tampa Bay, and they like Kansas City. Only 2 sharp action games so far that have been detected. Sharps are currently on Tennessee. Public and Sharps on the same side. They are in that game over the Bengals, and they are on the different side in Tampa. They like the Bucs to move on, whereas the public likes the Rams to continue their route towards hosting their Super Bowl this season. So we'll keep an eye on that throughout the week. Of course, 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday, the divisional round, NFL playoffs, hopefully some better games this weekend. We are at the halfway point through the NBA season, which is about to take kind of center stage once the NFL season wraps up. So while we have the midseason upon us, let's take a look at some noteworthy headlines in the NBA. Halfway through the NBA season, and I think the Suns are going to win the title. That's my prediction. I just took them plus 600. I think I took them at like plus 300 to win the West as well. Currently the 1 seed. And I'm also now flip-flopping again, and I'm once again asking, should the Bulls be worried? Okay, let's start there, and then we'll get into the Suns in the West. But now for the Eastern Conference. Bulls still atop the East, but they've lost 4 straight. And, okay, I know the Nets just lost KD, so a little hope there. But, first of all, the 11th seeded Knicks, right? We go to the 10 seed now because of the play-in tournament for the NBA. So the 11th seeded Knicks, currently as it stands right now, a team that was, 4 or 5 last year, like a surprise last year, they're still hanging around with Coach Tibbs, Tom Thibodeau this year. They're 6 games back of the Bulls. 1 through 11 is separated by 6 games. The East is wide open. Bulls, last 5 losses. Memphis, surprise team this year. They're like last year's Hawks team. Boston, Warriors, and the Nets before they lost KD. That Warriors loss was eye-opening. No Draymond, no Clay. Steph didn't even have to play virtually the second half. It was a blowout. Everyone thought it was the Bulls, and they laid an egg at home at the United Center. Are the Bulls this year's Hawks or Knicks, where they are a 4 or 5 seed? They're a surprise of the year, surprise team, but does it end in the first round, a la the Knicks, or in the conference title game, a la the Hawks? I think the Heat, Bucks, Nets still, and 76ers are better than the Bulls right now. I could see a scenario where the Bulls fall into that 4 or 5 spot, like the Hawks, like the Knicks. The Celtics just beat you. The Celtics are a team that have talent. Jaylen Brown is back playing well again. He was injured last year. Team that has been in the postseason year in, year out now for a handful of years. Look, again, I'm flip-flopping left and right here on your Chicago Bulls, but again, it's been a great story. I watch this team. I'm rooting for this team. They're fun to watch. Again, I don't know. Am I raising the alarm, or is this a pattern that you just can't, you're good, you just can't take out the top teams? And again, the Knicks are just 6 games, but you're 6 games from the 11th seed. I mean, that's, again, kind of a red flag for every team in the East, just signaling, hey, this thing is wide open. So again, once Super Bowl February comes in, again, it's halfway through. We got 40 plus games in the books. We still got 40 plus more games. Long way to go, but just some things to kind of key in on here at mid-season. Nets are confusing because of the Kyrie Irving situation. He's back playing on the road, but he's unvaccinated, says he won't get vaccinated, and he's rooted in on that. So he can't even get into his own building, the Barclays Center. Now the KD injury. So it's just going to be Harden at home games and Kyrie on the road. Maybe when Harden wants to play on the road too and work double duty. KD, couple of weeks, he should be fine by the playoffs. But Djokovic is getting deported from countries, and Kyrie Irving, can't even play in his home stadium. Like, how am I supposed to analyze this team? It's what if the Knicks get hot and all of a sudden the Nets are, good Lord, they fall to the 12th in the conference or some shit. It's wide open. It's crazy. Okay, why I like the Suns. 2 seed last year. They say run it back. Chris Paul. I'm rooting for him. He's probably one of the favorite players I've ever watched. I mean, there's LeBron, there's Kobe, obviously, but Chris Paul, something about a guy that short, but with great handles, great scoring ability. He's a giant slayer. He's done it with multiple teams. He's a winner. Love Chris Paul. Love watching him, rooting for him. And I think he could get done this year. He played in his first finals. Why not run it back this year? Who scares you in the West? Here's what the Suns offer, and it's 3 bona fide all-stars, like lock fire all-stars, Ayton, Booker, and Chris Paul. Mikal Bridges, who they just extended, he's like the Draymond Green glue guy for this team. Now, this isn't the Warriors, right, from their heyday, but it's a very talented team. And then, if that is my hand and I'm going all in at the poker table, what are you coming back with me in the West? The Warriors, they weren't there last year. Clay is still coming off an injury, and that core of Clay, Draymond, and Curry, which won a title, they're a lot older. And then when they won more titles, they don't have Kevin Durant anymore. I love what Wiggins is doing, but stop it. Okay, stop. Come on. We're not relying on Andrew Wiggins this year in the in the postseason. He's been great. Good for him. I'll take the Suns over that Warriors team, and that's where it is in the standings right now. And again, if they do meet in the Western Conference 7-game series, who knows? But I like a team that did it just last year with this group that says run it back. Warriors still kind of, it's like the older veterans trying to bring up the guys like Poole and their talented young guys. I like a little bit more. I think the Suns are in better shape there. Grizzlies, a year away. I think we're going to look back on the Zion Ja draft 1-2, kind of like Odin and Durant. I mean, it's unfortunate. We always knew there was injury questions looming around Zion, but you couldn't not take Zion, right? And then lo and behold, maybe Ja Morant was the star waiting in the wings behind him, because what he's doing is incredible. What the Grizzlies are doing is incredible. But again, a year away. Suns over the Grizzlies there. The Utah Jazz. Next question. Please, come on. Rudy Gobert. They do this every year. They're a good regular season team. Immediately, once they get to a series, game plan the fuck Rudy Gobert away from the basket. Boom, you're done. You're toast. You can't win against a good team. The Mavericks, they're literally the same team every year. Luka's great, but maybe Porzingis isn't the guy. He needs someone else. Clippers, if Kawhi returns, maybe. But what's the word on that? Lakers, not without AD. Remember, the Suns took out the Lakers without AD in that 2-7 matchup in the playoffs. Weren't the Lakers favored as the 7th seed to win the title? How'd that go? And what do you do with Westbrook? He's been terrible. Is he, LeBron, he's a great player. He might be one of the worst GMs we've ever seen. Some of these, this was a LeBron decision. There's no reason other that Westbrook is wearing a Laker jersey right now is because LeBron thought it was a good idea. It was not. I told you that once it came across the trade desk, once Adam Silver put pen to paper, that was not going to work. What has it worked for? 500 team, like everywhere Westbrook has gone in the last 5 years. They'll make the playoffs, make the play-in tournament, but are they going to, what are you going to offload them? Who's going to take Westbrook? The Lakers LeBron's always doing something at the deadline. Hard to always count them out, especially what LeBron is doing this year, which is incredible. He is putting up MVP numbers again, and he is the reason the Lakers are even 500. They are doing this in spite of the AD injury and Westbrook, just putting up nights where you're like, dude, can you even score anymore? Let's wrap up Corbett's Corner with my current MVP, NBA top 5 for MVP, my current list. Number 5, I'm going Steph. Most 3-pointers made per game in the league. Points per game, not quite up there, right? He's Steph. He's great. Former MVP. NBA like to give out their hardware twice. He's my current 5. They're no longer at the top of their division. Clay's back. Draymond's back. Draymond, I think, steals some votes there for what he's done with that defense, what he's gotten those young guys to do defensively for one of the top defenses in the league. So Steph, my number 5. Number 4, Embiid. No Simmons, no problem. Sixers Slow start. Embiid's been injured. When he's been out there, he's been fantastic. He's one of the best in the business right now. He's my number 4. LeBron tearing it up. He's now that Durant's injured, watch out for LeBron to lead the lead in scoring. He right now is number 3 for me because Jokic is putting up numbers like he did last year when he won the MVP. He's leading the league in player efficiency rating. He is just a magician on the court. He does a little bit of everything, but the Nuggets are a little bit above 500, and that's about it. Which is why my number 1 is Giannis, because he is still Giannis. The Bucks are quietly having a heck of a season, as there's no hangover here, right? They're not at the top of the standings, but they're in that upper echelon. They're within striking range. They've done this before. Giannis is arguably the best player on the floor wherever he goes. He's starting to, develop a little bit more of a shot, but what he's doing efficiency-wise, offensively, defensively, and what the Bucks are now starting to do as they are going to be rolling in the second half, and probably creeping up towards the top of their conference. I think Giannis right now, and I don't know what the odds are. I didn't check it updated this week, but that is just where I would put it in my current top 5 for MVP for this season. Durant gets hurt. He's leading the league in points right now, points per game. He's likely going to drop out of the race because he's going to be out for almost a month, almost 2 months. Going to hurt kind of like how it hurt Joel Embiid last year and allowed Jokic to, rightfully so, get that MVP last year. But NFL playoffs, wild card weekend in the books, divisional weekend coming up this weekend, NBA halfway point, at least games-wise. We've got about a month until All-Star festivities, trade deadline, etc. And after the Super Bowl, hey, it's a basketball kind of nation for sports intake for the rest of the spring. So we'll have it here for you on Corbett's Corner. Appreciate you, the listener. We'll talk to you later this week.